Hey, my name is Cynthia and I'm the owner and founder of Digital Bloom IQ, and today I want to talk to you about how to review your website and how to look at if it's SEO friendly. So many of you probably have a website, you have a beautiful website that you have up and you just don't know how to make it SEO friendly. Maybe you've read a couple other blogs and you're just feeling lost and confused. And so here I want to give you some steps of how to review your website in a non-technical, not overwhelming way to review and to make it SEO friendly. So this is actually something I am in the process of doing right now, and I want to show you step by step how I am doing this for my own website. This is an important part of maintaining a website. I see a lot of my clients create this beautiful website and then kind of forget about it, or just add content but not really have that high level view of looking at the SEO perspective on your website. And that totally makes sense because we don't really create websites thinking about Google. We create websites because we have something we want to put out in the world. We're feeling creative, we're feeling excited. And I think it's totally normal for you to not be thinking about SEO. And very, very few people actually create websites thinking about SEO, unless you're an SEO expert like me. Few people really go into creating a website with that in mind. So there's no shame or guilt that I want you to feel around just now, wherever you're at with your website, just now starting to look at how SEO and how Google is ranking and looking at your website. So the first thing we need to do is define what kind of review or assessment we want to take a look at when it comes to your website. So if we think about a website, it is basically a bunch of code and images and text that are brought together, and they create this amazing experience on our computers. So I recommend, to not get overwhelmed, is to decide what kind of review do you want to do. So it could be a technical review, it could be a copy and a keyword review, or it could be just like a general flow and experience, user experience review. So for this video, I'm going to be focusing on copy and keywords since that's what I'm doing with my website. But just so you know, spending the time to define what you want to look at in your website can already make you feel less overwhelmed, because I find that if you just want to overall look at your website, it is quite a big task of assessing your website. So just breaking it out into chunks, you can do each of these sections separately and give yourself a couple days, give yourself time to process certain things. But this doesn't have to be an ongoing thing. It could just be kind of like a check-in, kind of like how you take your car just like every 6 months or every year to the mechanic or whatever you need to do for oil change. Same thing with your website. You don't need to do this SEO stuff all the time, and you can just schedule it in your calendar certain times of the year where you're doing that, and so suddenly it's kind of taken care of, and then the rest of the year you can just focus on publishing what you want to publish and doing other things for your website and your business. Like I said, I'm going to be reviewing the copy and the keywords on my website because it's been a while since I've done that, and I'm actually going to be defining which pages I'm going to review. So this is another big mistake I see people do, is they want to like assess their website, they want to understand what's going on, but they just want to look at the whole website, and so you get really easily overwhelmed. So what I recommend is actually making a list of the pages you want to specifically look at, and just getting really specific. So in my case, I want to look at my home page and my about page because those pages are really important and I feel like they're a little bit outdated, and so I want to take the time to update them and to make sure that the keywords and the copy on there are really aligned with where I'm taking my business today. Make a list of pages, and it's okay if you don't want to do your whole website right now. I actually think it's effective to work on certain sections, and this is natural. Like maybe there is a part of your site that's gotten really modern and grown, maybe your blog section is doing great, but then your homepage is outdated. So just keep track of what you do, and then you can just rotate every time you look at a certain area of your website, so you're not doing the same section and your website doesn't become disproportioned. The other thing I want you to think about is before you start this process, just thinking about how long this process is going to take for you. And so I make this mistake. Sometimes I think it's just going to be a day, and it's actually more of a week, because when you create something new, you want to review it. So I've set myself a timeline of a couple days to initially draft some new copy and to take the time to then go back and look at it. So just be honest with yourself. Again, there's no rush, but sometimes we dive into this and then we realize it's taking longer, and so it just can kind of be a relief to give us our, like, just put the intention to just let this take its time, and put a time frame so that it's not dragging on for many weeks. Okay, so we've defined what kind of assessment, and we've defined the pages, we've defined the timeline of this assessment. So the next step is I'm actually going to be taking a step back and reviewing who my ideal audience is and what goals I want my website to help me achieve to reach this audience. So this is a very typical thing that people skip over. You know, you just want to make your website pretty, or you just want it to like work with where you're at. But I do recommend the exercise of just taking a moment to really think about who's your ideal audience. I actually have a search personas worksheet. If you want to check that out, you can go to bit.ly/start using SEO. And so that will help you brainstorm and think about who's your ideal audience specifically for your website and what are their needs and desires around what you're selling. So this exercise on its own can be really a revelation, just to really before you start creating something new, you're like touching base with this person, because you're going to be creating words and images and making changes that you want to resonate with this person. So if you're not in touch with that, it's going to be hard to create your best copy or your best changes for your website. Take the time to review who your ideal audience is. Take the time to look at your 90-day goals, maybe your year goals, and maybe even your 3-year goals. We always want to be getting slightly uncomfortable with the copy and the changes we make on our website and the keywords that we're targeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my notebook and I'm just going to do a couple notes on who I'm targeting and just touching base with what their needs are, what their desires are, what their fears are, before getting into my website review. Okay, so I did a little check-in on my ideal audience. I wrote a couple notes. I've done this exercise many times in the past, so this was just a check-in, but I also did pull out some old worksheets, some old branding exercises, and I just did a little bit of a check-in with myself. So if you do have some sort of brand profile or something where you've taken the time to identify your ideal audience and your branding, I highly recommend just pulling that out for a moment and just doing a check-in on that, because again, we want to make sure the copy and the keywords that you're targeting on your website are fully aligned with your branding, and otherwise it's just going to be very random and out of nowhere, and we don't want that. Okay, so the next step is a little bit different, and this is one more step before we get into reviewing the actual site. And that is just setting an intention behind what we want to do with our website and the changes we want to make. So I like to use Oracle cards for this step because it gets me really grounded. It gets me thinking about why I want to help the people I help through my business and through my website. And so if you're not into Oracle cards, that's totally fine. Maybe just take a time to, again, identify your why, get grounded in your why, in your person that you're serving. If you do like Oracle cards, then grab or just tarot deck as well. Whatever kind of gets you into that creative flow. This could also just be music and you free writing. Maybe it's talking with a friend and talking about your why. Again, this step is so important because if we're creating from a place of just like a dry and boring place of like, I have to update my website, that's not really exciting. So in order to create our best content, we need to be in a really grounded place of who are we serving, why are we doing what we're doing, and you know, why do we have this business? And this might seem really obvious, but this is just a great exercise in general. So I'm using Rebecca Campbell's Work Your Light Oracle cards. I'm going to pull some cards and it's going to help me just get like into a really juicy and creative space. Okay, so you've connected with your why, you've done a little bit of soul searching. Just to be clear, this doesn't have to be a super long drawn out process. I did it in under 5 minutes. And something I want to show you guys is I actually did a mind map. So if you're not a linear thinker and you want to kind of get out all your ideas, I highly recommend looking into mind mapping. It can be a really great way to brainstorm and just get out your creative ideas. And I want to clarify once again that this pre-work is crucial. So some of you might want to just like dive into your website and just forget about this stuff, but doing this little bit at the beginning, it could just be 15 minutes of your time of just connecting with your audience, connecting with your why. It's going to make all the difference as you approach your website and you really think about where you want to take your website and your business going forward. So the next step is I go through each page that I want to review. So in this case, I'm going to be doing my home page and my about page, and I write down new ideas and notes as I just scroll through the page. So this is a pretty easy step, but it can be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes to look at our websites. So take it slow and just come up with any cool ideas as you're going through your website, write it down and see what happens. So here I'm just scrolling through my home page. I see that I probably want to update one of these opt-in links. I want to make a couple tweaks to this bio copy, and I want to add my blog now to the homepage because I think that's a much better flow of things. So make sure you get through the whole website, even look at your footer. Sometimes these links can get just forgotten about, and you can create a situation where you're just abandoning the lower areas of your website. Everything should be taken into account as you scroll through, and just write out notes and see what ideas come forward. So for my about page, I feel like this copy is really different from where I'm at right now. So I'm going to be updating all this copy, and I also want to add just like a little bit more information about me here at this section. I had added the certifications and then maybe some other call to actions. I know I have this opt-in, but maybe adding a blog post or two and another recommendation. So these are all initial ideas that I'm writing through in my notebook here. And again, I'm getting to the very bottom and I'm taking a good look. If the footer again has any broken links, I'm making sure that all these links work. I'll click on them, making sure that the terms and conditions and the privacy policy work. Just like going through your site fully. Don't be scared of just really digging around and spending some extra time scrolling through all the page. So I've gone through both my homepage and my about page, and I've made some notes. I have some ideas of things that I want to change on both these pages. So the next step is I'm going to be doing some keyword research using some SEO tools. And I'm also going to start drafting some copy inside a Google Doc. So again, this is very personal. Some of you might prefer to start on a piece of paper. Some of you might record yourselves talking. I've done this before. If writing feels kind of heavy and you're just feeling like you don't know where to start, just get out your phone and record yourself speaking or on a video and just talk about your business, talk about what what you're wanting to do with your business, your ideal client, how you're wanting to impact them. And what you can do is transcribe that audio and then use that as copy. That's like a little trick that I like to use because I know writing is like a whole thing, and when we haven't done it in a while, it can feel a little bit heavy. So if that's the right option for you, do that. But let's get to some copywriting. Okay, so I've done an initial draft of my copy, taking into account keywords, taking into account all this connection that I now have with my audience. And the next step is going to be unusual to some of you, but I'm actually going to sit on this. I'm going to close this document and I'm going to make sure my calendar has blocked off some time tomorrow to come back to this and look at this copy. So I really think that good copy and good use of keywords takes time for us to understand and digest. So letting your copy sit overnight is one of the best things you can do to create the best SEO writing and website you can ever have. What you can do, if you're still feeling energized to work on this, start bringing together images. Maybe you have some new photographs that you've taken. Maybe start to think about formatting, like how would you like the page to look, and just brainstorm that. I'm going to do that tomorrow, but I'm going to check in with you guys again to continue this process to finish updating my website. All right, and we're back. So you took the night to sleep on your copy and to reflect on the changes you want to make. And so the next step is to actually go back and start to make the changes on your site. So I'm going to show you, I've already started doing that. And of course, there's going to be some extra tweaks. You're going to see the copy with new eyes, and you can bring it all together with new images. Potentially you want to, whatever you want to do to like refresh that page, and you want it to really jump out and speak to wherever you are right now with your business. So remember to take a special look at formatting. Definitely take a look at your headings, look at the flow of the page. And in the next step, we're going to be talking more about reviewing the entire page, but try and really pay attention to these elements. And again, it's helpful to step away from your site and then looking at it again if you want to do a little bit in the morning and then look at it with fresh eyes later. Having those fresh eyes really changes how we approach our sites. And so it's important to have this be a process. And I actually don't recommend, trying to make too many changes at once. You can make some changes, but go back and review them. I'm going to be spending the rest of this week to make different changes, and today I've only changed parts of my About page because I feel like I want to focus on it really well, make some great changes, and then move on to the next page. So here you can see I have the original copy that I wrote, and so I started to transfer some of this to my new About page, and I haven't updated any of the images yet. I'm still reviewing that, but I did add some new links. Here I have this new section, and this is completely new. And I'm feeling really good about this. And you can see that there aren't that many changes, but already this page feels much fresher. I feel like I'm just clear about the value I give to my clients. And then the bottom part, I'm really happy because I have some links to my services that didn't exist when I created this About page. So if you have any updates to your services or any updates to just things that you've done, make sure to include that in your page. If you have new testimonials, include that. You can switch up the opt-in. Whatever you need to do to refresh a page is just awesome. All right, so there are 2 steps left in our process, and both of these are really, really important. So please, at this point, you might be feeling like, I'm done, I made the changes, what else is there, Cynthia? But these steps are important. So the next step is to ask a trusted advisor for feedback. So this is someone who you work with, who understands your business. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's someone in your mastermind. Maybe it's a friend who, you've worked with closely throughout your business. Please make sure to ask someone who does understand your industry and who is ideally a little bit advanced, so they have like a little bit more wisdom or just some perspective. Now, there's nothing wrong with trusting your gut, and you don't need to get 100% of their approval. But again, having a second set of eyes can be very helpful. You can also work with your web developer, if they're open to that. Your SEO expert can also give you lots of tips and ideas. Having that second set of eyes can help make this moment even more effective. And since you're already kind of in the mode of making changes, emailing 1 or 2 people just to get them to look at it quickly can be super helpful. So in my case, I'm going to reach out to my mastermind. I'm going to reach out to 2 women who I know specifically who are experts in my industry, who understand my industry, and getting their feedback will be great. And the last step, and this is so important, and as an SEO expert, I can't mention this enough, but you need to share your page very intentionally once you make changes. And this goes for any site page as well as a blog post. When you create a new blog post, it's not just about hitting publish and waiting for Google to find it. You need to very intentionally, especially at the beginning, share the page you know, and get it out there. So in my case, I'm going to be sharing it with my newsletter audience. I'll also make some social media posts and link it back to this page, because the About page in particular is a really important page on our site. So it's just great to get that shared. And so this is going to definitely help with the ranking, and it's going to help overall with the traffic. And why not? You know, there might be some people who I haven't reached out to in a while. I can reach out to them and just specifically link to the About page. So just to be clear, you don't always have to tell them like I'm giving you my About page, because, you know, who cares? Sharing this link in particular can be really powerful and really helpful to your SEO. And the last thing I wanted to mention that's super important is to set a future date to review your site again. So you don't want your site to be something you're reacting to or that you're updating when you're just like, you know, randomly remembering to. You want it to be something intentional. And so just set a date, take a moment now to skip ahead in your calendar. Maybe it's 2 months down the line or 3 months down the line, just a little reminder that says, hey, take a look at this page, take a look at your site. In my case, like I said, I want to be spending the rest of this week to actually update different parts of my site, since I've gotten really into my About page. And I'm just really excited about it, because I feel like now my website actually represents where I am in my business, and that I'm attracting, you know, the right clients to my business. So I hope that you found that helpful. Please leave me all and any comments below. I'd love to know the website changes that you're making, you know, where you're feeling stuck. And as always, if you want extra help with your SEO, if you want someone who will give you keywords, who will work with you to get those set up and to really make your site just ranking in Google, getting on that first page, having a strategy and understanding how to make it work for you, you can go to my site, digitalbloomiq.com. You can check out my About page, you can check out my services, and I have just a whole range of services depending on whether you want to learn some of the stuff for yourself, or if you want just someone to handle it and you want your team to just work with me, and you don't really have to think about it as much. I still feel like my clients need to be involved in some parts of the process and understanding what I'm doing, but there's a point where they can just like forget about it and let me do my magic, and that's awesome too. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you know anybody who would find this really helpful, please make sure to share with them. I'm just wanting to help more and more health and wellness businesses attract people who are already searching for them right now in Google. Have a great day.